The storm had eaten the sky. Radar spun blind, satellites went to snow, and the order cut through every channel like ice. All aircraft grounded. It's over. On the ridgeline, shapes moved, armor under frost, infantry in white shrouds, closing a noose around men who were already counting their last magazines. And yet, at the far edge of the frozen base, a corrugated hangar twitched against the wind. Frost snapped. A breaker clicked. Somewhere in the dark, a switch nobody had touched in years found the courage to glow. You're watching the Scape, where impossible orders collide with unforgettable courage. Tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? The Arctic didn't roar, it pressed. Wind flattened the horizon into white, the sun a faint scar through the storm. Down in a frozen valley, a shuttered fish cannery crouched under the gusts, its windows sealed in ice, its roof groaning with every blast. Inside, 6 soldiers crouched around a crate, 3 SEALs, 2 medics, and Chief Harper, the only one who's still pretending to have a plan. Tracks on the creek, Singh muttered. APCs with chains, they'll flank north, cut us off. Then we make them earn it, Harper said. He tried to sound like command still existed. It didn't. A voice slid through the open frequency, foreign and smug. Even your command said it was over. Save your bullets. The men froze. The storm had found a voice, and it knew their language. The camera lifts. Snow scours the lens and finds a hangar on the far side of the base, half buried, its sign reduced to 2 letters, NG. Inside, silence ruled. Frost draped the walls like old curtains, and at the back, under a layer of ice, a shark mouth slept, paint cracked, grin dulled, waiting. Marrakeen stepped into the shadows, parka unzipped, gloves off. Officially, she was maintenance crew. Unofficially, she was something command had erased years ago, a test pilot from the Ghost A-10 program. She'd watched it die, watched the reports buried, watched the names vanish, but she hadn't forgotten. Her palm met the metal skin of the old hog. Cold bit through her hand, but she didn't pull away. Command's order echoed through the PA system again, thin and final. All aircraft grounded. It's over. She flipped a breaker. Nothing. Waited. Flipped again. The bulbs above her blinked to life, painting the hangar in a sickly green glow. Dust and frost fell in slow motion. You hear that? She whispered to the jet. They think it's over. She climbed the ladder, slid into the cockpit, and buckled in. Switches snapped. Pumps coughed. Screens blinked awake like eyes remembering their purpose. Her reflection looked like a ghost trapped in glass. The first engine caught with a guttural whine. The second joined, rumbling deep. Frost peeled off the tail in sheets. The A-10 didn't purr. It growled, as if offended at being forgotten.
She wasn't escaping the storm. She was becoming the part of it that answered. Back at the cannery, Harper stared at the door, bowing under pressure. Ammo check. 4 mags, Sink said, and 1 prayer. That'll do, Harper replied. Static bit through his headset again. Lay down your arms, the enemy voice taunted. Even your command is finished. In the hangar, Mara keyed the old maintenance channel. Ghost light active, need door open. Her tone was flat, clipped, already airborne in her head. Somewhere outside, a lone tug driver, half asleep, half frozen, felt the ground tremble. He saw the lights, panicked, and slammed the switch. The hangar doors screamed open. Snow blasted inside, biting her face. Taxi lights carved thin geometry through the storm. She eased the throttles forward. The hog rolled, heavy but willing. Base control crackled alive. Unidentified aircraft at NGR. You are ordered to abort. Repeat, abort. Mara flipped to an old test frequency.
Runways everywhere today, she murmured. The cannery lit up suddenly, Harper's last flare, a white wound in the storm. She saw it and felt her chest lock into place. The throttles went full. The hog surged forward, wheels hammering over cracked ice. The storm clawed at the canopy. At the far end of the runway, a vehicle skidded sideways, a blockade, lights off, desperate. She didn't brake. She lowered the nose, the hog cutting through the white like a blade. The mains unweighted. Lift wasn't triumph, it was defiance. The ground dropped away in silence. In her headset, a new tone whispered to life, low, cold, unmistakable. Radar locked. The radar tone kept pulsing, steady as a heartbeat in her headset. Mara's jaw locked. Somewhere out there, buried in the storm, something had her marked. But she didn't dive, didn't climb. She held the line. The hog was too heavy to dance and too stubborn to run. Below, the white cracked open for seconds at a time, showing fragments of road, wrecks, and men trying not to die. In the cannery, Harper felt the roof shudder under pressure. Then came a sound that didn't belong to storms, a growl rolling across the sky. "That can't be," Singh said, staring through the ice-caked window. "Nobody flies in this." "Someone does," Harper said. Up in the cockpit, Mara's instruments flickered. Fuel feed unstable, hydraulics at 80%. The storm clawed across the canopy like it wanted her gone. She leveled out over the valley, HUD swimming in static, target pod blind from ice glare. But through the gray, she saw it. The faint glow of a burning flare cutting a square of white. The cannery. Echo team. Still alive. "Hang on," she muttered. Her hand brushed the cannon switch. She could almost feel the weight of the GAU-8 through the fuselage, 7 barrels that could end worlds, whispering for release. She wasn't flying to survive. She was flying so they would.
On the ground, Harper's men scrambled. The enemy was moving fast, black shapes emerging from the snow line, armor leading, infantry behind. Tracers hissed through the blizzard like fireflies gone mad. Then, the sky split open. The first strafing run ripped through the valley, shredding the ridge into fountains of dirt and steel. The sound wasn't thunder, it was judgment. Mara's hand stayed steady, her breathing slow. The A-10 kicked from recoil, smoke twisting off the wings as the cannon spat orange fire into the storm. Her rounds walked across the convoy, peeling open vehicles one after another. The snow lit up with burning fuel. In the cannery, windows blew inward. Harper hit the floor, covering his head as fire rolled overhead. Then, silence, followed by disbelief. Singh rose, shaking. "Sir, that's an A-10. Harper smiled for the first time that day. Guess command was wrong. Back in the cockpit, Mara's warning lights screamed. Hydraulic pressure dropped fast. She eased the stick, coaxing rather than forcing. "Stay with me," she said, voice barely above a whisper. The hog obeyed. It always did when the pilot meant it. Her RWR blinked again. Another lock. Closer, sharper. Anti-air moving into range. A hiss of smoke from the ridge confirmed it. She banked hard, flares cutting bright streaks through the gray. A missile tore past her left wing, exploding in a pulse of light that turned the cockpit white. Shrapnel pinged off the fuselage. The hog shook but held. Mara bit her lip until it bled. "That's all you've got?" she hissed. Control broke in again, frantic. "Unidentified aircraft, you're ordered to disengage. This is your final warning." Mara switched frequencies. Too late. They're already watching. Below, Harper keyed his comms. "Whoever you are, we've got smoke on the north wall. Enemy armor regrouping." Mara's reply came calm, professional, unshakable. "Copy. Ghostlight, inbound." The A-10 rolled once through the wind shear, cutting back into the canyon. Snow peeled off her wings like vapor. Her targeting pod caught the armor column just as they crossed the creek. She squeezed the trigger. The cannon thundered again, and the ridge vanished in a storm of tungsten and flame.
When the smoke cleared, her HUD blinked a new warning. Fuel 38%, ammo 22%, hydraulics failing. And in the snow below, a fresh convoy began to appear from the blizzard's edge. Smoke twisted through the snow like veins of black ink. The storm had quieted, but only to listen. Mara steadied the stick, breath fogging the canopy, her body vibrating with the hog's rumble. She glanced at the gauges, fuel low, hydraulics whining, radar blind from interference. Still, she was up. That meant the men below were breathing too. At the cannery, Harper's team regrouped behind a shattered wall, adrenaline shaking their hands. Singh peeked through a hole in the sheet metal. "They're pulling back," he said. Harper didn't believe it. The enemy never retreated. They repositioned. "Stay sharp. They'll bring bigger teeth."
Right on cue, a deep grinding rumble rolled through the valley. Tracked vehicles, heavier than before. Tanks. High above, Mara's RWR screamed alive again. 3 new locks, different frequency, mobile SAMs. Her jaw tightened. "You had to escalate," she muttered. She banked left, the wings slicing through the fog. Her canopy flashed with static lightning as the storm rubbed against itself, throwing sparks. Her comms crackled, Harper's voice ragged but steady. "Warthog, they're moving anti-air into the ridgeline. You're too close." "I know," she replied, switching master arm back on. "Mark their position." "Red smoke, East Ridge," Harper said. He tossed the canister through the gap. The flare hissed, spitting color that barely pierced the whiteout. Mara saw it. 1 mark, 1 chance. She rolled the hog inverted, dove hard, snow streaking past the canopy like stars. Her HUD blinked angry warnings, but her hands didn't hesitate. She wasn't flying for orders. She was flying for proof that one voice could still matter. The cannon spoke again, short, brutal bursts. Tungsten shells chewed through the ridge, detonating the first launcher in a blossom of orange. The second vanished in smoke. The third fired. The missiles streaked upward, slicing through the storm like a blade. Mara yanked the stick, flares dumping behind her in a chain of light. The missile veered, chasing heat, then snapped back toward radar. Too close. It exploded behind her tail, shaking the cockpit. Warning lights lit up the dash. Hydraulic fluid low, right stabilizer damaged. The hog staggered, but held its wings. In the valley, Harper's men watched the explosion, hearts freezing. "She's hit," Singh shouted. Harper pressed his earpiece. "Ghostlight, report!" Static. Then her voice, clipped, alive. "Still flying." The words cut through the fear like sunlight. Harper grinned. "That's our girl." Mara pulled out of the dive, smoke trailing behind her. The controls felt heavy now, sluggish, like flying through mud. She scanned the ground, eyes narrowing on a second column of heat signatures moving through the blizzard. Reinforcements, a full mechanized unit. Fuel 32%, ammo 19%. She exhaled once, steady. "All right, old friend," she whispered to the hog. "One more dance." At the cannery, Singh slammed a new magazine into his rifle. "Sir, if she goes down—" "She won't," Harper cut in. "Not while we're still breathing." Control broke into Mara's headset again, desperate now. "Ghost light, divert immediately. You're out of authorization, out of range, out of time." She smiled faintly beneath her mask. "Authorization is a storm. I'm weathering it." She banked low over the valley floor, the shark mouth grinning through smoke and snow. Every pass was slower now, every movement deliberate. She lined up the next run, an armored convoy crawling toward the cannery, and pressed the trigger. The GAU-8 roared. The ground split open. Fire rolled across the ice. The tanks vanished into molten craters. For a moment, even the wind forgot how to move.
As she climbed through the smoke, a new tone cut through her headset. Lower, colder, mechanical. A long-range radar lock from somewhere beyond the ridge. Whatever had found her wasn't handheld. It was hunting her for real. The tone didn't blink this time. It held, low and steady, crawling under her skin. Mara's eyes guarded to the RWR. The signal was broad, fixed, and too clean. That's not mobile. That's command grade. Somewhere out there, hidden under the ridge or buried in ice, a radar-guided launcher was painting her every move. She banked right, hoping to break line of sight, but the lock followed like a ghost, breathing on her neck. In the valley, Harper's team felt it too. The air itself had gone tense. Every soldier who'd ever fought under air cover knew that tone. It was the sound of death folding its wings. Singh looked up through the hole in the roof, watching the contrails fade. "Sir, if that thing fires, she's done." "Not yet." She's still talking to it. Up above, Mara toggled her systems fast. Countermeasures armed, ECM standby. The cockpit glowed red, and the storm hammered harder, pushing the hog toward the mountain. "All right, let's make you miss." She pulled hard left, diving low into the canyon where cliffs blurred into white walls. The lock tone screamed, closer. A streak of light cut the cloud, a missile, cold and perfect. She dumped flares, rolled the hog on its side, and dove. The missile overcorrected, slicing through the wake of heat before detonating above her. The shockwave rattled her teeth. Shrapnel peppered the fuselage. Warnings howled across every screen. Hydraulic pressure, 41%. Fuel, 28%. Right elevator, sluggish. She stabilized, breathing through her teeth. "Still here," she said softly. The storm wanted to bury her, but ghosts don't sink, they surface. The base erupted in chaos. Command channels flooded. Someone shouted, "Unauthorized aircraft is engaging SAM grid. Repeat, unauthorized." Another voice, the commander, cut through. "If she survives, I'll court-martial her myself." But the fear in his voice betrayed something deeper. He was afraid she might win. In the valley, the SEALs scrambled to new cover as burning debris rained around them. Harper keyed his mic. "Ghostlight, you've got armor regrouping on the south ridge. You're clear to pull out." "Negative," Mara replied. Her voice was calm, almost serene. "Not while they can still shoot back." She turned back into the storm, scanning for the SAM signal. It pulsed like a heartbeat beneath the snow. There, just beyond the ridge, a faint glint of metal and movement. The launcher was reloading. She pushed the throttles forward. The hog lurched, shaking, the sound of metal straining against old promises. She climbed to 400 feet, just enough to line the shot. The HUD blinked, the cannon armed. Her finger hovered over the trigger, but the radar lock spiked again. The second missile was already in the air.
Mara exhaled slow. "You and me again." She cut throttle, letting the hog drop nose first, engine screaming. The missile chased, closing the distance fast. At 200 feet, she flared, pulling up with a force that made the airframe shriek. The missile passed under her belly, exploding against the cliff face. Fire rolled across the valley, painting the snow gold. Her crosshairs fell back on the ridge. The cannon spun. Tungsten tore through the SAM site, shredding it in a chain of fire. A second later, the radar tone died. Silence flooded her headset. "Target neutralized," she breathed. But the relief didn't last. Every warning light on her panel was red now. The right engine bled power, and the stabilizer trim failed completely. The hog began to drift left, refusing to hold level. Down below, Harper saw the A-10 wobbling in the smoke. "She's hit bad," he said quietly. Singh swallowed hard. "Can she land?" Harper shook his head. "In this, no one can." Control came through again, urgent, desperate. "Ghostlight, divert now. You've done enough." Mara smiled faintly beneath her oxygen mask. "Command said it was over, but I'm not finished yet." The fuel gauge dropped into red, 14%, as her RWR flared with a new signal, farther east, stronger, meaner. Another launcher had just come online. The new radar signal wasn't like the others. It was colder, steadier, locked with mathematical precision. Mara felt it before she saw it, a pressure behind the sternum, a weight that said, "This one doesn't miss." The RWR pulsed deep red. She didn't have to guess what it was. Long range, radar-guided, command-grade SAM system, something no one said existed in this sector. She throttled back, skimming low over the canyon floor. The hog's shadow danced across snowfields, scarred with black craters. Hydraulics screamed. The right stabilizer lagged, dragging her into an unsteady yaw. Her gloved hand fought the stick like wrestling a stubborn animal. "Come on," she whispered. "Don't start dying on me now." At the cannery, Harper's team ducked from another mortar burst. The ground trembled. One of the younger SEALs, barely out of training, looked up at the storm's glow. "She's still up there," he said, voice cracking. Harper nodded once. "Yeah, she's buying us time." "How much time does one person buy against an army?" "However much she wants," Harper said. Back in the cockpit, Mara's HUD flickered in and out. The targeting pod was almost blind. Ice built up along the canopy frame. She flicked the defroster to max, but the heat was barely enough to melt frost. A thin crack snaked across the glass, spidering toward her peripheral. She ignored it. Her comms hissed alive. "Control again. Ghost Light, we are ordering full disengage. You are risking national hardware, not to mention your life." She chuckled dryly. "Hardware's replaceable." "And pilots aren't?" "Some are forgotten long before they die," she replied, switching channels. Command could erase her name, but not the echo of her engines.
She banked left, tracing the ridge. The radar tone followed, unwavering. "You're patient," she muttered to the unseen launcher, "but I'm faster." She climbed through the cloud, the storm flashing blue around her canopy, wind buffeting the wings. Fuel dropped to 10%. Every gauge glowed amber or red. Then she saw it. Through the snow haze, the SAM launcher glinted, a metal fang dug into the ridge, its radar dish turning lazily. Crew shadows moved around it, reloading. Mara's breath slowed. She lined up the crosshairs, the world shrinking to one glowing square. The missile fired first. Her instincts took over. She rolled left, dumped flares, throttle full forward. The missile curved through the heat cloud, locked again. A flash of light, a streak of smoke. It was coming straight for her nose. She cut power, dropped altitude, praying the missile would overshoot. The hog's frame shuddered violently, turbulence slamming her against the seat. At 300 feet, she hit throttle again, yanking the stick back. The missile screamed overhead, detonating in a ring of fire that lit up the entire canyon. Shrapnel peppered her wings. The right engine coughed once, twice, then caught again with a wheeze. The A-10 climbed through the flames, stubborn and scarred. Down below, Harper and his team saw the explosion light up the night. "That's her," Singh said, eyes wide. "Still alive," Harper murmured, half belief, half prayer. Mara leveled out, breathing hard. Her pulse thudded against her headset. "You missed," she told the silence. Then coldly, "My turn." She lined up for her last run, targeting reticle dead center on the launcher. She feathered the trigger, one burst, then another. The cannon thundered, 7 barrels spinning, brass casings spilling into the snowstorm. Tungsten ripped across the ridge. The first hit cracked the radar dish. The second tore it off its mount. The third hit the missile rack, and the entire structure erupted in an upward bloom of fire. The radar tone cut out. Silence followed. Heavy. Absolute. The hog flew through the smoke, wings shaking from recoil. Mara's eyes stung, not from tears, but from the burned air leaking through her cracked canopy. That's all of them, she said, voice raw. You're clear, Echo. In the cannery, Harper keyed his mic, trying to steady his breath. Ghost-like. We see it. You did it. Static. Then her voice. Negative. You did. I just made the introductions. Harper laughed once, short and tired. What's your status? Mara looked at her panel. Everything blinked red. Fuel, 4%. Hydraulics, failing. Altitude dropping. The hog's right wing dipped, and she corrected gently. Airborne, she said, finally. Barely. The fight wasn't over. The enemy was gone, but gravity was still loyal.
The storm began to ease. The wind softened, visibility widening. In the distance, a break in the clouds revealed the faint shimmer of headlights, vehicles lining up on a cracked service road. A voice cut through her static. Ghostlight, this is Spur Kilo. You've got one strip lit, gas and belts if you can make it. We'll hold the lights. It was Ward's crew, the forgotten maintenance team manning a temporary refuel point, the same kind of outcasts who never made reports, but always made legends possible. Mara smiled under her cracked mask. Copy that, Spur Kilo. Coming in dirty. The valley fell behind her. Below, Harper's team exhaled as the last echoes of the cannon faded. The snow fell softer now, blanketing the wrecks, erasing the night's violence, one flake at a time. Singh looked up through the broken roof. She's heading home. Harper shook his head slowly. If she makes it, home will never forget her. Mara turned the hog toward the faint glow ahead, fuel light flashing, every alarm screaming. She tapped the console once with her glove, the same way you'd pat a dog before its last run. One more landing, old girl. Let's not embarrass ourselves. The storm opened just enough to show the road, rough, narrow, lined with headlights in crooked rows. Ward's voice came through again. Runway's yours, Ghostlight. Bring her down. The right engine sputtered once, twice, then went dark. The left coughed in sympathy. The A-10 dipped nose first toward the flickering lights below, and Mara whispered, Not yet. The left engine coughed again, a hollow gasp that rattled the entire frame. Smoke trailed behind the hog in long black ribbons, curling upward into the thinning storm. The instruments were dying one by one, their green lights fading into a dim, nervous red. Hydraulics nearly gone, fuel unreadable, the control stick heavy as stone in her grip. Mara adjusted the trim by instinct. There was nothing left to calibrate, only to feel. The road ahead glimmered in broken lines of headlights, a jagged runway carved out of snow and courage. Her breath fogged the cracked canopy as she whispered, Easy now. Let's finish what we started. Below, Ward's crew scrambled along the strip, waving light wands through the swirling snow. One truck angled sideways to block a pothole big enough to kill a landing gear. Another stood by with foam, waiting for the inevitable fire. None of them spoke. They could feel it, the air trembling as the hog descended, wounded, but still alive. Harper's voice crackled in Mara's headset, barely holding through the static. Ghostlight, this is Echo. We're clear. You bought us the night. Say again, you're still up. She smiled faintly. Up is relative, Chief. Just keep listening. She wasn't landing to survive. She was landing so the world would know she'd made it. The A-10 broke through the last shreds of cloud. The aurora had returned, faint and green, shimmering across the horizon like a quiet salute. The wind had softened, the blizzard burned out. All that remained was the hum of dying engines and the flicker of headlights marking her final path. Altitude 200 feet. Airspeed 130 knots. Too fast. She lowered the landing gear. 2 legs locked. 1 stuttered halfway. Warning tone screamed. Good enough, she said, and flared slightly. The tires met the road in a savage kiss. Sparks erupted. The left strut buckled, throwing the nose down. She corrected hard, keeping the wings level. The hog fishtailed across the ice, wheels screeching, snow exploding in twin geysers at her sides. Ward's crew scattered, then ran toward her as soon as she slowed. One final burst of smoke, then silence. The engines wound down with a sigh, turbines spinning into ghostly whines. The smell of hot metal and fuel filled the air. The A-10 came to rest halfway across the strip, nose dipped, sharp-mouthed grinning beneath a coat of frost and soot. Ward climbed the ladder, face lit by the flare light. Through the cracked canopy, she saw Mara sitting still, hands resting on the dead controls. Ward rapped once on the glass. "You still with us?" Mara opened her eyes. "It depends what day it is." Ward grinned. "Today's the day you stole a battle back." In the valley, Harper's men watched the faint orange glow on the horizon fade. "That's her landing," Singh said quietly. Harper nodded, breath visible in the cold air. Command said it was over, but she didn't listen. Back at the forward command center, chaos turned to silence. The same officers who had grounded every aircraft now stared at the radar feed showing one blinking dot returning safely. No orders could explain what had just happened. The commander lowered his headset, jaw tight. "She'll face court-martial." A junior officer looked up. "Sir, after what she did, who's going to sign that paper?" Rules had their place, but tonight the rules stayed grounded, while one forgotten pilot rewrote the sky. Ward helped Mara out of the cockpit. Her boots hit the ice with a hollow thud. The cold bit hard, but the air tasted alive again. Mechanics gathered, some saluting, others just staring at the aircraft still steaming in the headlights. Mara looked back at the hog, its engines ticking as they cooled. The shark mouth gleamed faintly in the aurora's glow. "Get her patched," she said. "She's got more to say." Ward raised an eyebrow. "You're planning on flying again?" Mara gave a small nod. "If command still says it's over, then we're not done yet." She walked away as the lights flickered off behind her, the aurora spreading wider above the mountains. The battlefield below was silent now. No tracers, no thunder, just snow reclaiming the scars. The hog sat cooling in a halo of light and frost, its paint scorched, but its grin unbroken. Above it, the sky cleared, green and endless, like a promise kept.